Recording. I'm recording. Good morning, guys. Some of you may know me, some of you may not. I believe I've met most of you. My name is Eddie Sanchez, and Izzy had, well, he didn't ask, I volunteered to go ahead and take over the Kill Team campaign. What that means is that I'm going to be the one choosing the missions, I'm going to be the one updating the scores, and I wanted to start doing this sort of weekly, let's say hopefully, because I'm in my classroom right now and heaven knows what happens with that. But I did want to do these weekly sort of videos giving updates, possible shout-outs, words, possible shout-outs, game overviews, and updates to the Kill Team game. First off, there was a lot of changes this past week. A few people didn't get their games in, and I figured that it's either because they got busy or they were trying to figure out how to work in their new specialists, because a lot of us now are higher level. A lot of us have gone up in points. Now, it's a good thing and a bad thing, because one, those level 2 abilities can be really, really clutch. I used my comm specialist level 2 ability, and he saved my life. He saved my Grey Knights team life. But you're also looking at going up 4 points, and now especially all those guys that actually played their games last week are going to be at level 3, so they have an interesting question to answer going into this game this week. Speaking of this week, we are now at 120 points for your Kill Team roster, meaning that you can bring those level 2 guys, or do you bring in more guys? So I'm really looking forward to the games, because now we have the possibility of what's better, to see that argument of quality versus quantity. What truly is better? Do I stick with my 5-man squad, or do I go nuts and go to a 6-man squad? It's going to be a fun week. This week, the 2 missions are Ambush and Take Prisoners. I chose these missions, especially Take Prisoners, because I did want to give those armies that are more melee inclined. Shout out to all the Harlequin players out there. Most of them I've talked to have given me the same sort of response, that even though they're not doing so well, they're having fun. So I did want to give a major shout out to all of them for sticking with the campaign. So for those that may not know, Take Prisoners, you only score a kill when you knock a model out of action if you are within 1 inch of them. So pistols are fine, close combat, and Cybolt for the Grey Knights and the Thousand Suns players if you are within range. Anything else is nothing. So as you're building your kill teams this week, do keep that in mind, that you may want to bring a lot more close quarters combat action. Ambush I also chose because, once again, I'm seeing the standings, and I wanted to give those teams that have more movement, but possibly not a lot of toughness, but really do rely on their fast movement, a chance. When choosing attacker or defender for both, the player who is lower on the ranking is going to be able to decide first whether or not they are in first, no, not in first, but the attacker or the defender for the mission, because for Ambush, defender basically has to escape the board and have more bodies off the board. Take no prisoners really doesn't change anything. Next thing I did want to touch on, the FAQ did hit. There were a few kill team changes. Make sure you're checking over your rosters. I know Harlequins took a bit of a hit. Imperial Guard took a little bit of a hit. The comm specialist itself took I almost want to say a deceptive hit, because now they can't buff themselves. They have to buff someone else, so that trick where you could just give a comm specialist a plasma gun and give him a +1 doesn't quite work anymore. No other big changes. I know the Harlequins, same thing as it was in 40k. The flip belt doesn't work as it was originally supposed to, so that is a bit of a nerf for them, but I know you guys will figure a way around it. Last thing I want to do with these videos, I know I've been rambling about, next time it will be a little more structured. I just kind of wanted to say hi, get to know you guys. Last thing, I am going to start setting up a Google Doc so that you guys can report your scores directly to me, sort of a Google survey. And I also want you guys to give me shout outs, give me different kind of play-by-plays and notes. Maybe some of you showed incredible sportsmanship. Maybe you had a great laugh and you want to share the joke of what happened or the story of what happened. Maybe some kind of miracle happened, much like my game against Robert. Normally my Grey Knights crumble. They just crumble against either Space Marines or Death Watch, which I was think it's funny because they themselves are Space Marines, my Grey Knights. So I don't know what happened. Maybe the dice rolls were with me that day. And if not for that silencer, Pototo, and which is the Grenadier's name, and Cybold, I wouldn't have won. So fantastic game with Robert. I do want to give a shout out. That was a lot of fun. A lot of touch and go, a lot of anxiety in a good way. And that's the kind of stories I want to hear. It's one of the things I want to hear about you guys. So I am going to be creating that Google survey for you guys so that you can go ahead and take a look. Make sure that send me messages about any kind of shout outs, anything you want me to touch on. Apologies, it is the morning. And anything else, I am considering doing sort of kill team showcases where I talk about the stories and backgrounds of your kill teams. If you want to let me know some kind of fluff that you want me to share or some kind of narrative story that's going on with your missions, please let me know. I'd love to make videos on that. I promise that the next video will not be so long. Last thing, I know I said last thing. This time it's the last thing. Remember that you can only pay people above on your tier or below your tier. That means those guys high up there, they have the disadvantage in that they can't really play a lot of people. I'm going to be gone for the next week, so I really could only play 2 other teams, especially since my kill team's up top. But those on the bottom rung, you have a lot more options. I'm also considering a catch-up mechanic so that those people who fall a bit too far behind do have the chance to catch up. Any ideas that you guys have, any thoughts, please let me know. My base idea is that perhaps per rung, that let's say you're on the bottom rung, maybe if you win the game, you score an extra 10 points for each rung above you. Maybe that's a bit much. Maybe I'll drop it to 5. Let me know what you guys think, and good luck, good hunting, and let's have some fun, guys. I'll see you around.